Hello, thank you for tuning in. In this video, we're gonna show how to set up zero-touch provisioning on a Cisco Catalyst switch. Zero-touch provisioning, which we refer to from now on as ZTP, allow devices to be deployed on the network without the need for engineers to configure each device separately. I find it puzzling why we still spend time and money to configure each device separately when we could utilize ZTP to configure all the devices. ZTP not only saves time and money, but also ensure network consistency and eliminate misconfigurations. So let's start.
Let us prepare you to own, protect, and master your network. NetPrepare.
If you're thinking about network automation, ZTP is a perfect place to start. It's easy to deploy and will not affect your existing network. So let's dive into the ZTP process. So when the switch boots up without a startup configuration, the switch will actually prompt you if you want to go into the initial setup wizard. If you do not interact with the switch will automatically send a DHCP discover message out of its interfaces. At this point, the DHCP server should reply with a DHCP offer message, which have the typical information like IP, gateway, subnet, and so on. And for the ZTP process to work, the DHCP server should reply with the TFTP server's IP, which is the option 151, and with the boot file name, which is the actual ZTP file, which is option 67. Once the switch receives that information, it will download this file from the TFTP server and it will configure itself. The file could be or a text file of the running configuration or a Python script, which we're gonna go over. There's a few ways you could set up your ZTP deployment. You can have the running configuration and your servers will point each switch type to the running configuration, or you could have a Python script that's very dynamic that could configure all type of switches, or you could have a combination of the two. In our example, we're gonna use my machine as the DHCP server and the TFTP server. You could see here in the configuration, the DHCP configuration, and we're using the option 151, which is the TFTP option, and also the boot file name, which is my ZTP file. And also you could see here the directory of the TFTP server and the file that we're gonna use to configure the switch. In this video, we're only gonna focus on the Python script because the configuration is just, the running configuration is just the configuration, it's just a text file. Alright, so now how to prepare the Python script. First, what we need to do is actually enable the guest shell so we could interact with the Cisco switch using Python. So you go into the configuration mode, then you enable IOX. Alright, so now let's check if the IOX server is working. That typically takes some time. We use the command show IOX service. Okay, it's up. So now let's enable the guest shell. Alright, so now we're inside the Python terminal on the Cisco switch. You could also consider the guest shell just like a Docker container. So even you could run it with Bash, you don't have to use Python. So let's take a look at the example provided by Cisco. The first two lines, we are importing the library. Then here we're inputting the interface name where you run the script. Line 8, I have added the configuration to actually specify loopback 55 so we don't input the interface name manually. You could see line 11 and 12, we're using the configure command, not the configure p, cli.configure, not the configure p. The only difference between those two commands is the output. And you have the CLI.cli and the CLIP, which also you could run commands to get the outputs from the switch and configure the switch. And you have to use semicolon to actually use multiple commands consequently. And you could see how to actually run the script. You have to put it in Flash and then run guest shell run python /flash/ the script's name. Alright, so now let's test the script. So let's run CLI.cli show IP interface brief. Okay, we need to do import CLI. Let's run it again. And you could see this will show you the output show IP interface brief. and CLIP will actually print the output. The other will show it in string format. Alright, so now let's configure the loopback 55. And you could see it shows each command that runs successfully. And if we use the configure, it will return a list format. Now let's test the CLI command to get the show LLDP neighbors. Let's test again the show interface status. Alright, so now after testing those commands, let's try to create our own script. So first let's use the show interface status to get all the interfaces, and then we'll use the regex to configure all the interfaces that are, let's say, not connected. Alright, and let's use the find all, the regex function find all. Alright, so now we're gonna specify the regex to only get the interface name. So let's prepare our ZTP script. Let's configure all the interfaces that are not connected, because what I'm considering is the switch is booting up and the connected interfaces are actually connected to the trunks or uplink or whatever. We'll import the CLI library. Now let's get all the interfaces. Alright, so let's run the regex to get the non-connected interfaces. And for the configuration, let's use the configure P. So let's get the configuration under the interface 10gig1/0/1 because the syntax matters when you're configuring using ZTP. And you know what? Let's add the configuration for port security and let's prevent MAC address flooding just for fun. Alright, so let's copy the configuration. Alright, so now let's test the script. Okay, so we need to import the regex library. And we need to get the right string. So I've seen this error before, and usually how I do a workaround is actually use the CLI.CLI, and I've seen it also with storm control especially. Okay, so the file is ready. So let's test on the switch, and at the same time what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take a wire capture just so you guys could see what's happening between the switch and the DHCP server and the TFTP server. You know what, let's add a command to configure the switch hostname. So let's erase the startup configuration, and then let's reload the switch. Also, if you've run ZTP before, you need to delete the downloadable _script.py file. Right, let's reload the switch. Alright, so now we are prompted if you wanna go into the initial setup wizard, and we just have to wait. You could see the DHCP packet, the switch is sending the discover packet, and the server is responding with the offer. And you could see the TFTP server's IP and the boot file. And you know what, let's add the TFTP filter so we could see the TFTP traffic. We're getting this message, you could ignore this message. You can see the switch is starting the guest shell and it's using the ZTP to configure itself. And we're done. Let's take a look at the configuration. You can see the interface configuration and the host name. And you know what? You could make the script as dynamic as you want. You could also add an LLDP function to actually check the LLDP of your neighbor if you want to also configure your uplinks. Alright guys, thanks for joining. Please, if you like this content, like and subscribe. That will be really helpful. And click the notification button. Any questions, please leave them in the comment section. And thank you.